Hi. While I'm actually beginning to write my second book, I realized like this shift with the universe, with myself. I was able to put a close on all the healing of so many years and then begin to teach and learn even more about oneself after they go through different changes. I myself as me, and of course each of my children as they go through their different stages, child, teenager. I got a couple of them in different stages. So it's a constant, grabbing awareness and shift of what's going on around you. And then obviously, people you interact with too. But, emotions are a normal part of everyday life. I know we feel frustrated when we're like stuck in traffic. We feel sad, when we miss our loved ones. We can get angry. When someone lets us down, or does something to hurt us. But emotional control and regulation is like taking any action that alters, the intensity of an emotional experience. It doesn't mean, suppressing or avoiding those emotions. With emotional regulation skills, you can influence which emotions you have, as well as how you, express them. Ultimately, it refers to the ability to effectively I want to say exert control, over your emotions, and, you're around other people, through a wide range of approaches, right? Depending on who the person is, how well you know them. Some people are better at regulating their emotions than others. That's just the reality. Even, each of my kids are, just for example, vast differences. They are high in emotional intelligence and are aware of both all of us, our internal experiences and the feelings, of others. While it may seem like they're just naturally calm, these people experience negative feelings too. They just maybe hide it better. And they've just developed, coping strategies, I think, that allow them to, self-regulate difficult emotions. But emotion regulation skills can be learned and improved, over time. Learning how to manage negative experiences, can benefit anyone's mental and physical health. As an adult, we are expected to manage our emotions, in ways that are socially acceptable, right? And help us, navigate our lives. When our emotions get the better of us, they can cause problems. Many factors can impede, emotional regulation skills. Sometimes stressful situations, can evoke especially powerful emotions. Also, we even hurt ourselves, and then we figure that out, later. But feeling overwhelmed, sadness, can lower well-being and cause unnecessary suffering. There are a number of skills, that can help us self-regulate our emotions, it turns out. As I learn and teach my children and share with others, we create space. Emotions happen, fast. Sometimes, we don't think, now I will be angry. We're just suddenly clenched, jaw and furious. The gift we can give ourselves, really, is the pause, right? Take a breath. Slow down the moment, between, I guess, triggers and responses, I would say. Number two would be an equally important skill, involves like the ability to become aware of what you're feeling, begin to notice and practice, becoming more curious about your own physical reactions. Tune into yourself and consider what parts of your body Are you noticing, sensations? Your physical symptoms can be clues to what you're experiencing emotionally. Inquiring what is happening to you physically can also distract your focus, and allow some of the intensity, of the emotion to go away. Number 3 would be after noticing, what you feel, the ability, you can name it, start naming it, each, like, either scenario or feeling. It helps you to get in control of, like, what's happening. Ask yourself, it's okay to talk to yourself, what would you call the emotions even that you're feeling. One strong emotion that often hides beneath others, is fear. Many of us feel more than one emotion at a time, even. So it's about, don't hesitate to identify when you're feeling multiple emotions. You might be feeling, and I would suggest writing them down if you don't want to talk to someone or talk to yourself. Even writing, you don't realize you're actually decreasing, the intensity of the emotion, and you are being honest with yourself, especially if you go back and read, what you wrote. But even writing what you're angry about or who towards, being able to name your emotions will help you get one step closer to sharing your emotions eventually, with others, and accepting, the emotion. But emotions, though, they're normal and natural. It's a part of how we just respond to situations, rather than beating yourself up for feeling, angry or scared. Recognize that your emotional reactions are valid. Try to practice self-compassion and give yourself grace. Some often say, mindfulness helps us, live in the moment, by paying attention to what is inside us. Use your senses to notice what is happening, and you are in, so I hope, a non-judgmental way, of yourself and then to others. These skills can help you stay calm and avoid engaging in negative, thought patterns. When you're in the midst of emotional pain, there are a number of emotion regulation strategies, that people can master to build even their coping skills. And there are 2 broad categories of emotional regulation. The first is reprisal, changing how we think about something in order to change our response. The second is suppression. What is linked to, more negative outcomes, is associated with a dissatisfaction and poor well-being. So now let's look at strategies that can help to manage emotions, in a healthy and helpful way, right? I would say number 1 is identify, and reduce triggers. When you identify these triggers, you can start to explore why they carry so much weight, and whether you can reduce, their importance. For example, I would say, like, a CEO might be embarrassed to admit that he gets angry when discussing, numbers because he struggles in math class. But understanding this trigger might be enough, or, the CEO might choose to preview the monthly charts in private to avoid the trigger, of feeling like everyone else is, like, waiting on him. But number 2, I would say, tune into the physical symptoms. Pay attention to yourself even when you have those, including even when you're feeling hungry, or tired, because of these factors can actually exasperate, your emotions and cause you to interpret your emotions more strongly. If you can address the underlying issue, you can change your emotional response. Number 3 is consider the story actually that you're telling yourself. In the absence of information, we fill in the blanks with details of our own often, and perhaps you're feeling rejected, sometimes after you haven't heard from a family member. You believe it's because they no longer care about you. Before you make those attributions, though, ask yourself, what other explanations might be possible. Whether motive or action, you are assigning to the other person. There's almost always even another person involved too. So you add, just like me to the end. It's a way of reminding yourself that they are also an imperfect human being. So when our emotions, feel overwhelming, our self-talk can become negative. Like I messed up again, or, everyone else is so awful. But if you treat yourself with empathy, you can replace some of these negative talk with positive comments. Try encouraging yourself by saying, I always, try so hard, or people do the best they can. This shift can help mitigate, your emotions we're feeling, right? So you can still be frustrated with a situation, that isn't working, but no longer have to assign blame, or generalize it beyond the situation. Most situations we have a choice about how to respond. If you tend to respond to feelings of anger, by lashing out at people, you likely notice the negative impact it is having on your relationships. And you might also notice that it doesn't feel good, or it feels good at the moment, but the consequences may be painful. Next time you feel angry or fear, recognize that you get to choose how you want to respond. That recognition is powerful. Human beings naturally attribute, more weight to negative emotions than positive ones. This known, it's like negativity bias, I think. Negative emotions like disgust, anger and sadness tend to carry a lot of weight too. Positive feelings like contentment, even interest, and gratitude are, I'd say, quieter. They weigh less, they feel less, and they're lighter, and you can feel more relaxed, more willing, to the universe. So managing our own emotions can be difficult. We realize that, but it requires, a high degree of self-awareness first, I've learned and teach now. When we're having a hard time, our emotional status, regulation even begins to suffer. So emotional regulation, disorder is a condition where someone has difficulty managing their feelings, basically. And this inability to adequately regulate emotions is referred to as dysregulation, which is a poor ability to manage emotional responses or keep reactions within an acceptable range. A person with emotional regulation disorder is more likely to experience dramatic changes in their moods, even in conversation. These fluctuations in turn negatively impact the person's actions. So if, the person's outbursts and not even really necessary, the other person, then, you have to consider the impact on them. And emotional regulation disorder can result in difficulty building and, maintaining healthy relationships. It's a self-destructive behavior, unfortunately. And, You find yourself hypersensitive, frequently have meltdowns or temper tantrums, outbursts of emotions that are displaced onto someone who did not cause, the harm often. So emotional regulation disorder can also accompany other mental health issues too, depression, stress, or borderline personality disorder I've told you guys about, which is often further complicated always, right, when you got more than one thing you're juggling, especially in your mind and you're not talking to people. One important long-term goal to apply in both behavior and therapy is to improve, I would say, distress tolerance, which is the ability to sit with uncomfortable emotions, sensations and experiences. As I sit and watch these kids interact with each other, I'm writing and I'm thinking, emotional dysregulation often comes from a desire to override, right? The undesirable feeling. This is where one can and should, begin to self-soothe, accept a needed distraction, even radical acceptance techniques. Because kids, when they play, sometimes they can be rough or mean or, moody. One's hungry, one's has to go in, so and as we grow older, we know that people have their own lives and their own feelings in their own situations. But with practice, we can learn how to calm ourselves down. Negative emotions are part of our daily lives, and pretending that they don't exist, won't make them go away. Rather than trying to avoid them, we should try to develop emotional intelligence and, regulation skills. Building the ability to self-regulate is crucial to, leadership, communication, relationships. So I just encourage, love and forgiveness and taking space. If, you're not having a great day, you don't need to make sure someone else doesn't have a great day. You just kind of take a little time out and get it together, right? All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon, okay? Bye.